The shuttle cut through the violet storm clouds of Viathorare, its metal hull trembling as the gravity field shifted. Outside the window, the Korthor capital glowed like a living wound, towers of black iron pulsing with molten veins, bridges suspended over rivers of plasma, and war banners rippling in the wind. Alien warships patrolled the skies, their hulls bristling with weapons aimed deliberately at the small Terran vessel descending into their dominion. Inside, Ambassador Alara Miles stood by the viewport, calm yet watchful. Her reflection stared back, sharp gray eyes, a diplomat's composure, and the faint scar near her jaw, a forgotten gift from her military past. The voice in her ear was soft and synthetic. "Atmospheric entry complete," her AI informed. "Surface escort, 12 Korthor fighters. Weapons armed but stable." "Good," she murmured. "Let them watch." The shuttle landed within the Citadel's spire, a towering obsidian fortress that rose miles into the stormy sky. The ramp lowered into silence. No greeting. No ceremony. Only guards with silver masks and electrified spears lining the path. Their stares carried contempt rather than curiosity. A tall attendant approached, armored in crimson plates etched with ritual scars. "You are the human emissary," he said, voice guttural. "Ambassador," she corrected, her tone even. He gestured toward the towering doors ahead. "You will stand before His Majesty, Viekoroth the Crimson Fawn. You will not speak unless addressed." Alara gave a faint, diplomatic smile, the kind that concealed steel behind courtesy. "Understood." The great doors opened with a low mechanical roar, revealing the throne hall of kings. The vast chamber stretched hundreds of meters, lined with alien nobles, soldiers, and council delegates from dozens of species. Light shimmered from molten channels beneath the transparent floor, illuminating banners made from woven metallic fibers. At the far end stood the throne, a construct of fused bone, molten glass, and living circuitry. On it sat King Viekoroth, colossal, scales reflecting red firelight, eyes like burning amber. The noise in the hall dimmed as Alara entered. No seat had been prepared for her. She was meant to stand, deliberately lower than the king's dais. Every detail of this encounter was crafted for humiliation. Viekoroth's voice thundered across the chamber. "So this is the face of humanity. The creatures who spread like contagion through the stars." Alara clasped her hands behind her back. "We prefer explorers, Your Majesty." The king leaned forward, resting a clawed hand upon the armrest. "You trespassed into Korthor space. You built colonies where our ancestors once walked. For that insult, your species will pay tribute or face extinction." Whispers rippled among the alien envoys, some curious, some eager for conflict. Alara met his glare without flinching. "Respectfully, Majesty," she said, voice calm but cutting. "Your ancestors walked many worlds. They did not own them all." The hall went silent. Even the guards seemed to tense. The king's grin widened, exposing serrated fangs. "Defiant words for a fragile being." "Fragile beings learn fastest, Majesty," she replied. "That's why we survived our wars. It's why we're standing here." The king's eyes narrowed. He rose, towering above her, his armor scraping like thunder. "You misunderstand. You are not here to negotiate. You are here to submit." From the council balconies, murmurs of discomfort echoed. The other species, reptilian, crystalline, feathered, watched closely. Humanity's response would decide whether Earth would stand among them as equals or kneel as servants. Alara felt the weight of that gaze. Yet her expression did not waver. "Then I have wasted my journey," she said. "I came to preserve peace, not to watch it rot beneath pride." The king descended one step from his dais. His voice softened, dangerous in its quietness. "You think your words matter here?" "They matter," she said. "When silence becomes permission." That line struck the hall like a blade. Delegates glanced toward one another uneasy. The Korthor guards shifted their grip. For the first time, the king's amusement dimmed. Alara's neural implant flickered softly beneath her skin, projecting faint data across her retina. Council audience, 68% sympathetic. Threat level elevated. She remained motionless, her pulse steady. Viekora studied her for a long moment, then chuckled low in his throat. You have courage. I will grant you that. But courage does not shield your species from ruin. Nor arrogance, Majesty, she said quietly. That shields no one. The hall's temperature seemed to drop. The king's tail coiled around his throne, scraping the floor. Enough, he said. You will meet me privately. There you will learn your place. As you wish, Elara answered. Guards stepped forward, their armor humming. She followed, her boots clicking against the glowing floor. As they approached the inner door, she spoke softly, without turning. Do you bring all your guests to heal, or only those who refuse to kneel? The lead guard hesitated but said nothing. The massive obsidian doors slid open to reveal a narrow corridor, carved from shimmering black stone. The air hummed faintly with energy. Elara's AI whispered in her ear, its tone measured. Fleet in high orbit. Elysium protocols inactive. Awaiting confirmation. She blinked once, acknowledgement. Hold position, she murmured. At the end of the corridor, the Chamber of Kings loomed, smaller, darker, meant for personal audiences and executions alike. The king paused before entering, glancing down at her. Tell me, human, he said. What drives your kind to reach beyond your stars? Greed? Fear? She met his gaze evenly. Memory. Of what? Of when we were powerless. He said nothing, but a faint flicker passed behind his eyes, interest or contempt. The doors sealed shut behind them with a deep metallic clang. Back in the grand hall, the council delegates murmured among themselves. One of the avian envoys whispered, Will she survive? Another replied, If she does, perhaps none of us will. Inside the corridor, Elara walked in silence beside the towering monarch. Her mind replayed her father's last transmission, his voice calm amid chaos. If peace means silence, then we speak through action. When they reached the heart of the chamber, Elara glanced once toward the vaulted ceiling, noting the faint shimmer of surveillance drones. Everything here was being broadcast. Every gesture mattered. The king motioned to the guards. Leave us! The doors sealed with a hiss, isolating them in darkness broken only by crimson light from the throne. He smiled down at her, a predator toying with its prey. You hide steel behind words, ambassador. I wonder how long before it breaks. She met his gaze unshaken. Words bend before they break. Steel doesn't. His laugh was deep, echoing across the chamber like thunder rolling through a canyon. Yet beneath the laughter was something sharper, irritation. She had not played her part. She had not begged. As he turned toward the throne, Elara's implant pulsed again, a silent signal from orbit confirming the Terran fleet's readiness. She did not glance at it. She simply folded her hands before her and said evenly, Majesty, before we continue, I ask that what follows remain between us. The council has seen enough theater for one day. He paused, intrigued. You wish for privacy? Perhaps you do understand your place after all. Perhaps, she said softly, you will understand yours. He gestured, amused, and the chamber doors closed entirely. Outside, the storm intensified, lightning tearing the skies over Viethorare. Inside, two figures faced each other, one ancient and vast, one calm and human, both dangerous in their own way. And as the thunder rolled, Elara Miles spoke the last words of the chapter. Then let us begin, Majesty. We have much to discuss, before history decides who survives this meeting. The doors sealed behind them with a metallic thud that swallowed every trace of sound. The Chamber of Kings was a cathedral of shadow, a cavern carved from living obsidian, alive with faint veins of molten light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Every flicker painted the walls in red and gold, reflecting in Elara's eyes as she stood alone before King Viekorath. He sat upon a smaller throne now, less ceremonial, more personal, a jagged sculpture of metal and bone. His movements were slow, deliberate, a predator savoring anticipation. I admire your nerve, he said at last, voice deep enough to rattle the chamber's ribs. Few have ever spoken to me as you did. Even fewer still breathe after doing so. Elara stepped closer, unflinching. You summoned me for words, Majesty. It would be wasteful not to use them. A low chuckle escaped him. You speak like a warrior pretending to be a diplomat. I was a soldier once, she admitted. Now I fight with sentences instead of bullets. Viekorath leaned forward, elbows on his knees. And yet you came armed. His gaze drifted briefly to the faint shimmer at her wrist, the telltale sign of her implanted command chip. I came prepared, she replied evenly. The king rose to his full height, nearly 3 meters of scaled power and age-old pride. His armor plates hissed softly as they shifted. You came to negotiate from weakness. You are alone in my palace, surrounded by my armies, under my sky. Elara's voice was calm. And yet you haven't killed me. Perhaps you know weakness is not the same as peace. That line hung in the air, thin and sharp as wire. His grin faded into something colder. Your tongue is dangerous, human. Only to those who mistake fear for control. He snarled, slamming a clawed hand onto the throne's armrest. Sparks burst across the floor. You think your species matters? You are newborns among civilizations that ruled when your sun was still forming. Elara didn't react. Her training pulsed through her, every breath measured, every thought precise. She spoke softly, but each word struck like a pulse of light. Perhaps. But while you ruled, we learned. You conquered stars. We conquered ourselves. That's why you're angry. Because we arrived too fast. For a heartbeat, silence filled the chamber. Then his laughter returned, deep and booming, rolling through the obsidian vaults. You are amusing, diplomat. A fragile spark pretending to be a flame. Elara tilted her head slightly. Flames spread, Majesty. The laughter stopped. He stepped forward, claws dragging sparks along the molten floor until he stood only a meter away. The air between them shimmered from his body heat. You should fear me, he said quietly. She looked up at him, eyes steady. I remember fear. I grew up watching your fleets burn my father's ship at Vari's prime. I learned what fear does, it builds resolve. The king froze. His voice dropped to a hiss. Your father was Jonah Miles. Yes, she said. You remember him. I ended his fleet myself, Viekorath said with pride. He screamed your name as the hull broke apart. It was beautiful. Elara's heartbeat quickened, but her face remained unreadable. She simply said, Then you remember what followed, when your second fleet vanished in the dark. His smile faltered. He turned slightly, pacing. Ah. The Terran retaliation. You burned an entire moon to ash. We ended a war you started, she said. You called it terror. We called it survival. He studied her in silence, eyes narrowing. Then he spoke again, voice low and testing. You want peace? Yes. Then bow. Swear your world's loyalty to me, and the Korthor Dominion will protect your people. You'll live under my empire, prosperous, obedient. Elara's tone didn't change. Peace bought by submission isn't peace. It's waiting to die slower. Viekoratha's grin returned, feral and gleaming. Then you choose extinction. He moved in one motion, faster than expected, claws sweeping through the air. She barely shifted as the energy field in her wrist flickered alive, stopping the strike mid-motion. His hand trembled, suspended inches from her face, trapped by a silent pulse of gravitic pressure. The king's eyes widened for the first time in centuries. Elara's voice was almost a whisper. Don't mistake calm for weakness. The air snapped as she released him. He stepped back, staring at his hand then at her. His expression was no longer amusement. It was curiosity mixed with unease. What are you? He demanded. A reminder, she said. That humanity isn't here to kneel. We came to stand. His laughter returned, though it lacked its earlier confidence. You bluff well, Ambassador. But we both know you have no army here. Her eyes flicked once, barely perceptible. Look again. A faint hum filled the air. The king turned toward the far wall as the chamber's holographic screen activated. A live image appeared, the skies of Viathorare, filled with faint, ghost-like shapes, Terran stealth carriers, slowly decloaking in orbit. His guards outside would see them too. Every communication channel in the Dominion now streamed the same silent image, ships poised like blades of light above the capital. Ilara's voice broke the stunned quiet. "That's not a threat, Majesty. It's insurance. We don't start wars. We end them," Viekorath growled. "You dare bring warships into my sky? They've been there since I arrived," she said. "You just didn't notice." The king turned back toward her, fury contorting his scaled face. "You think this display frightens me? I think it reminds you that you're not untouchable." He stepped closer again, voice lowering. "If you truly had such power, you would have used it. Instead, you came here to talk. To beg." Ilara's expression didn't shift. "No. To give you a chance to stop dying slowly." His nostrils flared. "You speak as if you have authority to decide the fate of worlds." "I do," she said quietly. "For one of them." He stared at her, torn between rage and fascination. "And if I kill you?" She took one step forward, matching his height with presence alone. "Then I stop you before you finish the sentence." They stood like that, predator and diplomat, ancient and new, the air thick with restrained violence. Finally, Viekoratha's expression changed again. He smiled. "Very well," he said. "Let's see how far your resolve goes." He reached for the ceremonial dagger at his side, its blade humming with psychic energy. He lifted it slightly, testing her reaction. Ilara's neural implant glowed faintly beneath her skin. Her voice was calm. "Protocol Elysium, authorization Miles Delta." A whisper of static filled the chamber, her AI confirming. "Command link active. All systems primed." The king's smirk faltered. "What did you say?" "Nothing you'll live long enough to regret." He laughed again, forcing bravado. "Still the same defiance." "You won't," she interrupted softly. "You talk too much." For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then a faint sound, not quite a hum, not quite a pulse, resonated through the air. The king blinked, confused. Ilara deactivated the link, her tone returning to that same measured calm. "Sit down, Majesty. You've already lost your throne. You just haven't realized it yet." His eyes flared with fury. "You presume to." "Presume?" she said. "No. I calculate." He froze again, as if weighing the meaning behind her words. The molten light in the chamber flickered once, echoing her heartbeat. Then, unexpectedly, she spoke again, her voice softer. "You could still choose peace, Viekorath. No one has to die." He bared his fangs. "Your father said that once. It didn't save him." Ilara's eyes hardened. "No. But it taught me what comes after." For a long moment, they simply stared at each other, two histories colliding, two futures hanging in balance. The chamber's silence was broken only by her AI's faint whisper in her ear. "Target lock confirmed. Awaiting your word." She didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, she looked at the king and said, in flawless Korthari, "Do you remember these words?" "I do not bow." His expression shifted, shock, confusion, recognition, before he forced another cruel smile. "Your father's last words. How fitting." Ilara's reply was almost a whisper. "He never screamed." The molten veins in the walls flared brighter, as if the chamber itself were holding its breath. The king leaned closer, sneering. "Then let's finish what he started." She met his gaze, utterly still. "Agreed." And with that, the lights dimmed, and the soundless hum of a neural weapon began to rise, faint, unseen, inevitable. The light in the chamber dimmed to a low crimson glow. The molten veins pulsing beneath the floor slowed, as if the planet itself were holding its breath. King Viekorath stood motionless, his claws half raised, his expression caught between arrogance and disbelief. The faint, rising hum that filled the air was not mechanical, it was deeper, almost inaudible, resonating through the bones. Alara Miles did not move. Her eyes were fixed on the king, her breathing steady, her pulse unreadable. The neurofilament embedded in her wrist thrummed once, then fell silent. "What trick is this?" Viekorath demanded, his voice sharp but uncertain. "Not a trick," Alara said softly. "A conclusion." His gaze darted around the chamber. "You would not dare strike a monarch of the council in his own hall." Her tone remained even. "You mistake rules for safety." The hum faded. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. Then a flash, colorless, invisible, almost imagined. A small distortion shimmered between them. The king stiffened mid-breath. His pupils widened. Slowly, he looked down. A small burn, no larger than a coin, marked the center of his chest. Smoke curled upward, vanishing into the air. His hand twitched once, then fell to his side. The dagger he had drawn clattered to the floor, its psychic hum dying instantly. Viekorath sank back onto his throne, confusion frozen on his face. The ancient crown tilted forward as he tried to speak, but no sound came. The mighty ruler of the Korthor Dominion exhaled one final, shallow breath, and the chamber grew still. Alara did not blink. She stepped forward and caught the falling crown before it struck the ground. For a moment she studied its jagged metal, the faint warmth fading from it. Then she placed it gently on the throne beside his motionless hand. Her earpiece crackled. "Protocol Elysium disengaged," her AI confirmed. "Target neutralized. Orbital fleet remains on standby." "Stand down," she whispered. No further action. Outside the sealed chamber, alarms began to wail. The council's delegates saw the broadcast feed flicker back to life, capturing the still image of the dead monarch slumped in his throne. Shock rippled across the galaxy in seconds. The guards outside burst into motion, weapons drawn, voices shouting in their guttural tongue. Inside, Alara waited. The first guard to enter froze mid-step, weapon half raised. His visor displayed a warning signal, Terran encryption overriding his armor systems. Above the palace, the night sky blazed with sudden light, human ships decloaking in full visibility, surrounding the planet like a steel halo. A voice, broadcast in every known language, echoed from orbit. "Hostile engagement will be interpreted as declaration of war on the Terran Union." Every guard in the room halted. The red light from the molten veins reflected off their armor as their breathing grew heavy and uneven. None moved. Alara turned to them. Her voice was low, precise, and without malice. "Your king is dead. But his people do not have to die with him." No one spoke. She continued, walking toward the exit with the unhurried calm of inevitability. "The council will demand answers. Tell them the truth, he chose war. I offered peace." As she passed through the chamber doors, the guards parted, uncertain whether to fear her or the fleet above them. The heat from the molten floor brushed against her boots, but she barely felt it. Her mind was a calm expanse, focused, controlled. The corridors of the palace stretched before her, lined with alien architecture carved to intimidate. Every column bore the face of a conquered race. For the first time in centuries, those stone faces looked like warnings instead of trophies. Her AI whispered, "Council broadcast requests live statement. Transmit on all channels," she said. A holographic lens materialized before her as she walked through the main hall. The assembled delegates appeared in miniature, projecting from floating orbs, reptilian, insectoid, crystalline, avian, all silent. Alara stopped in the center of the hall. Behind her, the body of Viekorath still sat on the throne, the crown gleaming faintly beside him. "This is Ambassador Alara Miles of Earth," she began, her voice carrying the quiet authority of truth rather than pride. "The Korthor Dominion declared intent to wage war against my people. They demanded subjugation. I refused." Murmurs erupted across the holograms. She waited for them to fade. "The king is dead by my hand," she continued. "No army fired. No world burned. No civilians will suffer. The decision was mine alone. She paused, letting the words sink in. Humanity will not seek conquest. We seek peace, but peace built on equality, not obedience. Any who still believe us weak are free to test the alternative. Her gaze swept across the silent faces of the council. We are not the monsters you feared. But we are done pretending to be prey. The holograms vanished, leaving only her reflection in the obsidian walls. Outside, the city's defenses powered down one by one. Massive cannons along the citadel walls folded into dormancy. In orbit, the Terran fleet rotated slowly, their formation shifting from attack posture to protective alignment. The entire planet seemed to exhale. Elara walked through the outer gates, where the storm still raged. Lightning tore across the clouds, illuminating the vast alien metropolis below, a city built on dominance, now silent under the shadow of restraint. Her shuttle awaited on the landing platform. The pilot saluted as she approached. Ambassador, your orders? Return to fleet, she said. Inform command the situation is resolved. As she stepped aboard, the sky darkened behind her. The platform guards bowed their heads, uncertain whether in mourning or acknowledgement. Inside the shuttle, the AI spoke again. Public response spreading across council networks. Multiple species requesting immediate diplomatic contact with Earth. Elara leaned back in her seat. Then we've succeeded. They're talking, not shooting. The shuttle lifted, ascending through the crackling storm. From the window, the Corther Palace shrank to a distant spire of obsidian and flame. For a fleeting moment, she thought of her father, of the final transmission from his burning ship. His words returned to her, never beg the stars for mercy. Show them why you deserve peace. She exhaled slowly. We did it, Dad, she whispered. No begging. The clouds broke, revealing the vast silver formation of the Terran fleet suspended in orbit. Hundreds of ships glimmered in perfect silence, their weapons cold, their discipline absolute. They didn't celebrate. They simply waited, steady, patient, unshaken. Her AI interrupted again. Incoming message from the council chair. Decline for now, she said. They'll call again. Course plotted for Earth. Estimated arrival, 72 hours. Good. Let's go home. As the shuttle joined the ascending column of Terran vessels, the planet below faded into shadow. Behind her, the Dominion's future had already begun to shift, old vassals breaking free, ancient alliances collapsing, and in their place, the faint beginnings of something new, balance born from fear, respect born from silence. On the command bridge of the lead carrier, a voice broke the quiet. The Envoy is aboard. Awaiting confirmation to stand down planetary lock. Elara's image appeared on the main display. Stand down, she said. No further hostilities. Humanity has made its point. A chorus of acknowledgments filled the channel. One by one, the Terran warships rotated and vanished into the void, engines leaving trails of silver light across the black. From orbit, the last transmission captured by the Council showed the capital city of Viathore under calm skies for the first time in centuries. The storm had broken. Elara closed her eyes, exhaustion washing through her, not relief, not triumph, only the weight of what restraint had cost. Her AI spoke softly. Mission complete. Not yet, she murmured. Now comes the part where we teach them what peace actually means. The stars outside drifted past, each one a silent witness. The final line of the broadcast echoed through 100 systems. The galaxy had seen empires born through terror and arrogance, but it was silence that crowned humanity.